Good morning. So I would prefer not to talk about this stuff. And at the same time, I see still like daily, nightly reports from media or whatever saying, this is, the numbers are up, deadly this, killer that. And I've always been good at math, or excelled at math, on tests and SAT, whatever. I've math class, I always got A's. It's easy for me. Like numbers are just how my mind works. And so when I go and look at the actual numbers, I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, where are they getting this stuff? Like, the actual numbers don't jive with how it's being reported. It makes no sense to me at all. And so my attempt here is just for my own sanity, to just talk about it and go over it. And then, hopefully we can go along with this together and take a look. And so right off the bat, the total deaths in 2020, right? It's 3,300,000 something. And they another statistic or way that it's represented often is deaths are counted or recorded per 100,000. And so in 2020, it was 828 deaths per 100,000, which is, if we want to be an optimist and say that means that per 100,000, anything less than 1,000 means that 99% of people lived. 99% of people had life and continued with us into the next year. And so 800 per 100,000 people died, total deaths. This is everything in 2020. That means that 99.2% of the population in the US continue living life. Great, yay. And then for 2020, the CDC report, they broke out a separate category of COVID-19 deaths. And so of the 3,300,000 people that died in 2020, 300,000 and 370,000 had COVID, or that's reported or that's attributed to COVID. And so just rough math right there, that means 10% of all the people that died, only 10% died of COVID. That means 90% of the people died of something else. They have this chart broken down by age, and essentially the younger a person is, the least likely or the smallest number of COVID deaths among that age group. So, for example, in school-age kids, 5 to 14, 5,500 kids died of other stuff, and only 67 of those was from COVID. And I think the math on that was like, 80 to 1? Yeah, so among kids 5 to 14, 82 times more likely to die of something other than COVID. So there's 80 times more of other stuff. And yet we're like in schools. My son just started school and they're making him wear masks. 80 times more likely to die of something else, kids these age. It's like, where's the fear? Or what's the point? There's lots of fear out there, fear mongering, but where's the reality? Where's the actual threat? 80 to 1, 67 out of 5,500, that's nothing. Go up at 25 to 34, 2,000. COVID is what the cause is listed. 72,000 of other stuff. And as people get older in these different age brackets, the ratio of dying of something else gets smaller. But even among people who are 85 years old, over 85, almost 9 times more likely to die of something other than COVID. Where is the killer virus? It's not there. I just don't get it. It's all fear-mongering. Where are the numbers? And at the bottom, they break it down, total deaths, COVID and non-COVID. It's 10 to 1. You're 10 times more likely to die of something other than COVID. And so spending the entire year in fear of something, when you're 10 times more likely to die of something else, that makes, what sense does that make? I can't make any sense out of that unless the agenda is just to scare people and do some other stuff, power grab, money, whatever it is. But looking at the numbers, we can't say it's COVID because they aren't there. And so historically, what's the historic death rate? There was a chart that was put out like in 2020, and then Snopes and the papers and stuff jump on it. If I Google search it, a bunch of things come up saying, oh, that's not true, fact check, blah, blah, blah. And then if you actually read it, the rates are similar. We're talking about 99.2, 99.3, 99.1. I mean, where really? This is a huge increase that they're trying to like say is BS, or trying to say, oh, that's a lie. My sense is it's just political. The chart was probably put out by like a right wing or Republican organization, and the people on the left or Democrat media want to just attack it no matter what it says, just because it's a left right politicized kind of divide and conquer strategy nonsense. But the actual numbers over history haven't changed all that much. And here, let's look at the numbers. Here's what they are. So the CDC says 828 deaths per 100,000 in 2020, and the year before 715. So again, flip it around. That means 99.2% of people lived in 2020, and in 2019 it was 99.3. Not a huge change here. And this is in spite of the fact that there was a worldwide scaremongering, literally scaring people to death. Daily reports on the TV, everywhere, media, death, kill, virus, we're all in danger. How many people died? Where's the number? Where's the statistics in the CDC reports of how many people were scared to death? It's probably never going to see it because they don't even consider that a thing. And if we keep going, in 2018, it was 715. From 723, that's a tiny change statistically. And we go back to 2017, it was 728, 2016, it's 731, 2015, we got, 724, 733, again, very close. There's not a huge change. And then, the number of people that die every year stays about the same. It's a little over time. We'll see the graph in a second, but year to year, there's not a huge change. It's just what the numbers say. 2011, we got 740, 747. So if we jump back to the year 2000, according to the CDC, it says reached an all-time low of 872 per 100,000. That's higher than the 828. And I'm assuming here they're using the same numbers. They threw an age adjusted here, and I'm assuming that all the rates that they report every year are age adjusted, and there's not. And another graph will see that. That's, statistics can easily get complicated, and often it seems like it's done intentionally. When if we're trying to use numbers to prove something. 1991, it was 500 per 100,000. Now again, statistically, if we flip it around, that means that 99.5 people lived and had life, whereas in other years it might have gone down to 99.2 or 99.1 or 99.3. We're 99% of people lived and keep on living year after year. Anything below 1,000 means 99% survived. So here is a graph over time from 1960 to 2011. And it says crude death rate. That's what they call it. And we see it's under 1,000 since 1960. Between 800 and 1,000 is what this chart says. Then they have this thing called age adjusted. And even that, it's like 13 something, less than 1,400 down to the low, which is whatever it is, in the 7 something, which is... This is from the CDC's website. There's no 500 on here, so it's kind of hard to tell what are those other numbers that they're putting out there in the year to year. But this is their own graph saying that the average death per 1,000 is around 1%, meaning that year after year since 1960, around 99 to 98 point whatever, 98 point or 99% plus of people lived. We keep on going. We're a strong bunch. 98 point whatever percent of us live. And then here's another chart saying the death rate from 1950 to 2021. And again, it's the same. It's got, on the high end, it's 9.5. On a low end, it's down to 800, and then back to, this one is done per 1,000, so the decimal places are different, but it's the same thing. Flip it around. 99% of people, anything under that in this one, the 1,000, 10,000, whatever it is. But below that, flip it around. That means 99% of people lived. Keep on living. They kept going. And then even below here, they have the annual percentage of change, and it's less than 1%, or around 1%. Or not even, it's closer to zero a lot of years, but we're talking a tiny, minute change, 1%, less than 1% change year to year. That's nothing. I'm not saying people are nothing and death is nothing, but we're talking numbers here. We're going to shut down the entire world because of a 1% change, or less than 1%, something that's in line with the historical average. Like, what sense does that make? How many people were killed by the shutdown? How many people are killed by the fear-mongering? How many people are killed by the worldwide economic upheaval, And then here from Wikipedia, this is a worldwide historical, and they even put predicted on here. I mean, how they predict that? They sure didn't predict 2020, did they? Or unless they did. But how are they pulling this out of their, I don't know where. But if we go back on this one, worldwide, it starts from 1950. So here's if we go to 2000 or to, let's see, 2021, 8.1. So they're saying again, that number, 828 or 810, to flip it around, that means 99%. And we get way back here in 1950, the worldwide, it was 19, which is double what it is today. Even though it sounds like, oh, it's doubled. That's a huge thing. We've totally brought down the deaths. Well, flip it around. That means it went from 99% now, and then back in 1950 it was 98%. So it's really only a 1% change over 50, 60, 70 years. Not a huge thing. It's just percentage wise, like historically, like we're a hardy bunch. We stay, 99% of us keep living, and then the other number that blows my mind when I remember early in 2020, they were saying, millions are going to die. 10, 15, 20% of the population is going to be wiped out. Or even if it's 5%, that's, this huge number. That would have been a lot of people. And yet the population went up in 2020 in the US. I don't know about the world, but if we look at 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, the population goes up every year. And the increase in population is around 0.6%. And this is a steady number year after year after year for the past 4 years. The population goes up. How does the population go up if there's a killer virus, a deadly virus, a pandemic worldwide? How? That doesn't make any sense to me. If it's really deadly and people are dying left and right, and it's, this rampaging thing, the population should go down, right? Isn't that the definition of a pandemic? A significant number of people are dying? How does the population go up? If that just flies in the face of this, their own math. It's just crazy. When I Google this or, just web search it, total deaths or COVID deaths, they don't report it in this way. They flip it around to use a percentage that makes it seem like it's bigger. They say 15, 20% increase, and they're talking about the change from, say, 700 per 100,000 to 800 per 100,000. So saying 800 is bigger than 700, that seems like a pretty big jump, 15%, whatever it is. But that's designed to mislead. Again, if we flip it around, look at the big number, it went from 99.3 to 99.2. That is not a 15% change. And some people might be like, well, deaths aren't everything. What about all the, the people that have it and they're suffering and they're miserable, they're in the hospital or wherever they are. And looking at the numbers that are being reported about deaths and how it's being reported, I question all the numbers that are being recorded. And my own personal experience is I only know one person in this whole time, what's it been, a year and a half, that's been tested positive for COVID. And they're an older person and they had symptoms for a couple weeks and then now they're fine. Nothing, they didn't die. It wasn't some horrible thing. They didn't even really know at first they had it, And so it's like, other than that, I don't know anybody who's had it. I don't know anybody who's told me any story about, misery and suffering and, people they know died or their dead bodies in the street or all this and that. I just haven't seen it, and I've been out. I go around. I'm going to the beaches, and I see a bunch of people, and I'm not seeing people, even throughout the scariest time of the heavy lockdown and distancing and all that, people were still out. People were still mask free, vax free, out, close together, you know, like, so I don't buy it that the masks and the distancing and the lockdowns are what kept the numbers down or kept people from dying. I just don't buy it. I didn't see that. I didn't experience that either. And so it's like, something isn't adding up here to me. I don't see it in the numbers. It just seems like, you know, it's the same script of crisis and emergency. And, you know, and plenty of dystopian authors have written about it. They didn't just make that stuff up. They lived through it in their own time, where media and government and big business are all colluding to grab power and grab money and to, you know, benefit at the expense of others. Why? Because they can. You know, the system's there. Why not? You know, that's how it works. So, but you need a crisis. You know, you can get people to do anything. There's one of the movies I enjoy watching, Point Break, a surf movie, and the head bank robber breaks it down as saying, you know, it's basic dog psychology. You get them peeing down their legs, and you can get them to do whatever you want. And that I think that is what's going on here. That's what makes sense to me. That if you want to make a quick buck, you know, do a big power grab and have lots of control and more ability to do whatever you want, you know, scare people. Scare them as much as you can, and then you can do whatever you want. You can get away with anything. And it's not that these people are evil. We could replace the entire heads of state, presidents, you know, generals, heads of CEOs, media, presidents, and whatever with Buddhist monks and nuns and you know, and spiritual people. And sure, maybe for a while things would improve. There'd be more kindness and loving, but eventually the system would corrupt them. There's too much power there, too much money, too much influence, and it would just go back to the way it is. As long as we put up with it. You know, George Carlin's famous for saying that. As long as you put up with it. Well, how about we stop putting up with it? How about we educate ourselves and start coming back together, and instead of reading the news or watching it or trusting all that stuff, we turn it off and we turn to each other and we go out and we look with our own senses and take a look at what's going on out in the world and see if we can be a good person and help each other. And so hopefully this brought some clarity to this stuff. It did for me, just looking at it, researching it. You know, I suspected it, I'd seen some of it, but actually going through it and seeing the numbers for myself helped me clear it up and get clear in my mind that I know what's going on. I mean, it just seems pretty obvious. So it's like, let's do something else. So thanks for watching.